Andrija Jelavic is practicing with Kentucky. Finally, pictures are surfacing of this kid in a Kentucky uniform. He is making the most of his allotted weeks that he can spend now that he has joined the Kentucky program and getting a lot of good work in from the sounds of it. But we had this week Alvin Brooks III, Kentucky associate head coach, went on the Sources Say podcast with KSR and gave a lot of quotes on all things Kentucky, but specifically player wise, the biggest thing that came out of this interview was some hype rolling towards Andrija Jelavic and the early returns of what he has looked like behind the scenes. So I'm going to read some quotes that Alvin said on the Sources Say podcast, but everybody make sure you go subscribe to that show and certainly listen to the full episode here. This is what Alvin Brooks said about Andrija Jelavic's first impressions. Quote, "We have some unbelievable guys because you cannot tell that he hasn't been here. He's fit in already. It feels like he was here the previous 8 weeks. He's fit right in from the team retreat to practices. He's very talented. He's a very talented player. For his size, he can do some things that a lot of people just can't do. Obviously, he's just 1 week in. Now he has to do it another week and another week and another week, but he has a lot of talent to work with." From what it sounds like, folks that are inside Kentucky practice walls and have access to the types of reports that come out from coaches and people working out with the players, this is backed up. He's looked very skilled. He's looked very good. There has not been much of an adjustment curve for Andrija Jelavic in his first week of live activity within the Kentucky program. Does this change your view on what Yelovich will be for this Kentucky team at all, and where do you stand on all of this?
So I think, and don't let me put words in your mouth, but I feel like you and I have been very high on Yelovich and what he can mean for this team, especially in a four spot. I think on the on the Kentucky Wildcats, where we think there is, space for somebody to step up and someone to bring some offensive versatility and things like that. I feel like Yelovich is that player that we have um, inferred that would be the person to kind of step up in that spot. I actually am encouraged by this because tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like with a lot of these international prospects that get to campus late, the talk of it is usually surrounded by, I mean, they need time to get with the program. Like it's been a very short time. They will get there, but it's going to take time, and I need people to be patient. I feel like every coach is like cookie cutter taking that statement and saying it about their international prospect that maybe came over a little bit late. There was nothing of that from Coach Brooks in this one that I heard. This was that like it's been seamless. There really hasn't been an adjustment. It feels like he's been here. He feels like he's been part of the team, and I don't know. It's just I don't know if the word's refreshing to hear that, but I just feel like it is a good thing for Kentucky because I think it's different than a lot of the conversations that are surrounded by these international prospects that maybe took some time to make their way over.
Yeah, I agree. I think Yelovich is a key piece for Kentucky. If I were sort of ranking Kentucky players that I think raise the ceiling, if they're just really good, like say this guy needs to start. He's clearly a top five player in Kentucky. Obviously, you already know Oweh is that, so I almost don't even include him in this. I think Jalen Lowe has to be next on the priority list. And then I think it's Yelovich for me because I think there's a pretty questionable spot at the four for him to break into. And I don't mean that to disrespect the other options at the four. There's certainly a lot of them. This team is deep as hell. But to me, I'm not worried about any of the guard spots because even if Jalen Lowe like has inconsistent moments, I know that Aberdeen can play. I know that Jasper Johnson is talented. I know there's guys you can cycle in and out. To me, the different looks you have at the four are, I don't know, all very different in nature. Diabate could be great and end up playing, but to me, he's great if he's off the bench. I don't think he's great if he needs to be like a 30-minute guy for you. Cam Williams, we want to come along slow, I think. We want to give him time and let him mix in at multiple positions and not demand a lot from a kid that is adjusting to this level of basketball. Trent Noah could even play the four. He could go small, but you're going to have defensive issues if you do that. Yelovich would kind of just kill all of those questions for me. If Yelovich is just like clearly a pro and awesome and needs to play at the four as much as possible, what do you nitpick about this team then? I think it's nothing at that point, and everybody else can slide into more comfortable roles for them. So yeah, I think it's good. From the sounds of it, the people that are watching him behind the scenes, it sounds like the jump shot is one of the first things that is earning the most praise right now in practice. Like he just is making from everywhere, and it's a pretty shot. So I know, like back when we watched the Yelovich film, obviously he is a shooter. We've talked about this. That's not a surprise. But also, you watch the Yelovich film, like he's an athlete. He's kind of bouncy, and to me, it would not have been a surprise if like he showed up to Kentucky. And it's like, oh, physically he's there. We got to see if the shots go in. So instead, like I have no questions physically about him. If the shots are going in on a team that we've heard throughout the summer, like, yeah, we're kind of having some shooting questions. If he makes shots, he's going to play a ton for this team. So stock up Yelovich in my eyes big after the way they're talking about him this week.
Yeah, stock up Yelovich, stock up Kentucky if Yelovich is going to be this. Um, Stock down Trent Noah. I feel like he heard this quote and sat out in the pouring rain in Lexington and is like, how dare they talk about shooting and not mention me?
Yeah, true. I mean, well, can we add Yelovich to the list of endless Kentucky players who have led Kentucky in shooting some way now? We've had
Well, welcome to the team.
what's his splash index? I need to know.
Yeah, what's he shooting on the
What,
nose?
but really importantly, what did Yelovich shoot at Tay Kinney's driveway hoop? That's what I need to know at midnight. Uh, the words you cannot tell he hasn't been here. I could interpret that two different ways. Let's interpret it the nice way first. Kentucky players are just very great people, and they've bonded very quickly in terms of personalities. Like Yelovich is already a part of the team. There's no culture shock to joining this group in Lexington full of American players. That'd be pretty cool. Is that how you interpret the quotes of "You cannot tell he hasn't been here"?
Uh, that's how I did until you put in the thought process. Now the wheels are turning in the back of my head. But yeah, that was my initial reaction.
Because the nice way to interpret it is like, oh, they probably like go to movies together and share
Well,
popcorn.
I did the video last week with Dion on Friday. They had like a little retreat thing where they, went out in the woods. They went and visited like a children's hospital, and then they like had like a basically like an outdoor day kind of type situation, team bonding type thing.
Yeah, for all we know, he grew up with Jaden Quaintance. They're best friends, right? Totally, totally wired the same way. Or you could interpret this as you cannot tell he hasn't been here because he looks great on the basketball floor and is standing out relative to the other players who have been here. That's the non-nice way you could interpret that quote. I think that's a stretch, though, even for me. Do you agree?
I am gonna have to constitute that one as a stretch.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean,
But but
but also, like, if you're getting live reps against Mo Diabate and Cam Williams, not all that's done. You look like you've been here, you know?
so that now that angle is possibly true. Maybe not as a team as a whole, but culture can't shock you as much when the culture is like being checked by Mo Diabate and Cam Williams.
Like there's a little element if we applied this exact quote to JQ, who also has not been active, right? He's been out for most of the summer. Like when JQ is full go finally, and you basically say like, "Oh, you could not tell he hasn't been here." Yeah, because he's repping Brandon Garrison. So right, he looks like he's been here and Garrison hasn't, right? So again, two different ways. I am a diabolical, evil, miserable little man. So sometimes I interpret things negatively, but I think it's a stretch even for me. I think it's more just about chemistry, right?
Yeah, good for Kentucky.
Yeah, great for Kentucky.